A nurse who seemed ordinary on the surface hid a dark secret. For nearly 16 years, he had taken the lives of dozens of patients by injecting them with lethal overdoses. Police suspect his victim count could reach as high as 400, though they lacked the evidence to charge him for all of them. When confronted with the accusations, he chillingly claimed he was helping his victims, saying, "I couldn't stand watching people suffer. I couldn't bear to see them endure such cruelty. I felt I had to end the pain I witnessed." This twisted justification earned him the nickname Angel of Death. Let's rewind to 1960s America to uncover the mystery of this serial killer, James Carter, born on February 22, 1960, in West Haven, Connecticut. The youngest of 8 siblings, James was deeply loved by his mother, but his childhood was far from peaceful. At just 7 months old, his father died. Out of his 8 siblings, 2 passed away young, leaving his mother exhausted from the burden of raising her children alone. His older brothers fell into addiction, while his sisters brought questionable men into the home. Growing up in this chaotic environment, James was quiet, solitary, and introverted. Though intelligent, he was frail and frequently bullied at school. At 19, he tried to end his life by swallowing poison. In high school, the torment continued. During a party, James slipped rat poison into drinks as revenge. Luckily, no one was harmed. At 17, tragedy struck again when his mother died in a car accident. She suffered a seizure while driving, lost control, and collided head-on with another vehicle, dying instantly. To make matters worse, the hospital disposed of her body without consulting James, a devastating blow that drove him to attempt suicide again. Though he survived, he was admitted to a psychiatric hospital, where he began to stabilize. The following year, James enlisted in the military. After rigorous training, he passed a strict psychological evaluation for submarine service and joined a guided missile crew. Life aboard the submarine was monotonous, and seasoned sailors often hazed new recruits as a rare form of entertainment. For most, the bullying was short-lived, but James became a constant target. Even newer recruits joined in. Despite the harassment, he excelled at his job and developed a fascination with medicine, particularly after assisting medics with vaccinations. He often said he wanted to become a nurse to help others. But one day, a senior officer caught him standing at the missile control panel in surgical gear, gloves, mask, and all. No one knew why, and the bizarre act led to disciplinary action. Over his 6 years in the military, James made multiple suicide attempts. The Navy tried reassigning him to less demanding roles, but nothing worked. In March 1984, after yet another failed attempt on his life, he was discharged with diagnosis of mental instability. Soon after, James enrolled in a nursing school in Portland, Oregon, as the only male student in his class. He quickly stood out, earning the role of class president despite his reserved nature. To cover tuition, he worked odd jobs, including one at a bakery where he met Laura, the woman who would become his wife. In 1987, James graduated and landed a job in the burn unit at St. Michael's Medical Center in Newark, New Jersey. That same year, he married Laura and they had 2 children. But their happiness was short-lived as his life took a dark turn. The burn unit was far more grueling than James had imagined. Doctors rotated out frequently, unable to handle the physical and emotional toll. James, however, worked 12 to 16 extra hours weekly, surrounded by patients of all ages suffering unbearable agony. Many arrived with severe burns, relying on high doses of morphine to dull the pain, while others were beyond saving. The burn unit was their final stop. This relentless environment began to warp his mind. He withdrew from his family, sleeping alone and growing cold and detached. His behavior turned erratic. Laura later recalled waking to the sound of their dogs, Rex and Milo, yelping in distress as James trained them in the basement. He burned his daughter's books and spiked drinks with lighter fluid. Fearing for her safety and her children's, Laura filed for an emergency protective order and divorce. Her instincts proved right. Within a year of starting at the burn unit, James began overdosing patients with fatal injections. During later interrogations, he admitted to killing about 3 times a week, often by injecting insulin or other drugs into 4 bags. An insulin overdose could trigger severe hypoglycemia, dizziness, seizures, and death. At first, the hospital noticed nothing unusual. A few colleagues found it odd that stable patients suddenly worsened and died, but with no clear pattern, suspicions faded. As unexplained deaths piled up, the hospital launched an internal investigation. They discovered tampered-for bags and zeroed in on James as the sole suspect. Yet, lacking solid proof and wary of legal fallout, they didn't alert the police. Instead, they fired him quietly and let him keep his nursing license. His first confirmed victim at St. Michael's was Thomas Reed, a former judge from Trenton, New Jersey. Admitted for severe sunburn, Thomas died after James gave him an insulin overdose. He might not have been the first, but it's the earliest case James could recall. 2 weeks after his dismissal, he found work in the ICU at Warren General Hospital in Ohio. Male nurses were rare, and James was diligent, taking shifts others avoided. Since St. Michael's never reported him, no red flags followed him. This silence enabled his killing spree to continue. In the ICU, failed emergencies became routine. At night, the beeping of machines echoed through the ward, creating an oppressive atmosphere. Caring for multiple patients alone was daunting for most, but for James, it was paradise. He thrived on night shifts, volunteering to help colleagues and earning their trust. He grew close to a co-worker, Rachel, though their bond soon soured. Rachel felt smothered by his controlling nature and odd behavior, ending their friendship. But James wouldn't let go. He stalked her, even proposing marriage. When she cut contact, he deluded himself into thinking she was dead. One March night, he broke into her home through a shattered window. Seeing Rachel and her child asleep, he left. The next morning, he confessed the break into her and was arrested. He received a 1-year suspended sentence. On August 30th that year, a 91-year-old patient at Warren General recovered well from breast cancer surgery and was set for transfer. James entered her room, injected her with a drug, and left. She seemed fine at first, but during transport, she suffered sudden heart failure and died. He was questioned again but passed a lie detector test, likely using drugs to manipulate his responses. Autopsy results showed no poisoning, as they didn't test for digoxin, a heart medication he'd used. Overdoses of digoxin could cause arrhythmias, neurological issues, or cardiac arrest, but it was too common to flag. The case stalled. That year, Laura divorced him, gaining custody of their kids. James was barred from visitation and ordered to pay child support. Over the next decade, he bounced between 8 hospitals, his crimes unchecked. Each new job saw a patient death spike, normalizing when he left. An investigator tracking him estimated his victims could number 400, shielded by a complicit healthcare system. Justice finally stirred in September 2002 when James joined the ICU at Summit Medical Center in Colorado. His dedication and pharmacological expertise impressed colleagues, especially Emily Larson, a single mother of 2 with whom he bonded deeply. Some speculated about romance, but their connection grew from saving lives together. Emily nicknamed him her work husband. Unbeknownst to all, Emily had terminal cardiomyopathy. She hid it to keep her job and insurance, but couldn't conceal her episodes. One day, her pulse hit 180 beats per minute, and she nearly collapsed. James caught her, sat her down, and pressed her for answers. She confided in him, refusing treatment to finish her shift. He fetched digoxin and covered her duties, a kindness that moved her. Yet soon after, the hospital fired him, citing discrepancies in his prior employment, a flimsy excuse that outraged Emily and her peers. They saw it as unfair. If a skilled nurse like James would be axed, who was safe? The real reason was darker. Hospital leadership had long noticed his odd behavior, entering unauthorized rooms, taking in prescribed drugs via the Pyxis system, and canceling orders to exploit a glitch that hid his theft. Police had been watching him, suspecting his involvement in multiple deaths, but lacking proof. When rumors of his actions at Summit surfaced, they demanded Pyxis data. The hospital claimed it only stored 30 days worth, a lie exposed when police confirmed with the manufacturer that all records were retrievable. Facing pressure, the hospital handed over the data, revealing James took drugs before each patient accident. To avoid tipping him off, police forced the hospital to fire him under a pretext. The day before his dismissal, he worked a night shift. The investigation hit roadblocks as hospital leaders stonewalled, holding secret meetings to silence staff. During Emily's questioning, she defended James, catching police attention. When a supervisor stepped out, they showed her case files. Shaken by the evidence and her own observations, Emily wavered. Days later, police showed her James's drug logs, asking about the canceled orders. She explained the Pix's loophole, but a call from a hospital exec warned her to stay quiet, deepening her confusion. She needed her job to survive her illness. The turning point came from her 11-year-old daughter. That night, Emily vented about a co-worker who might have harmed patients and her chance to stop him. Her daughter replied, "If we can stop a bad guy, why wouldn't we? Of course we should." Inspired, Emily resolved to act. She worked with police, analyzing records and secretly copying patient files. Her efforts linked James to Father Daniel Hayes, a 68-year-old priest admitted for pneumonia at Summit. As he improved, he suddenly died of heart failure on June 28, 2003. The hospital blamed arrhythmia and hypoglycemia, symptoms of digoxin poisoning, but no one flagged it or suggested an autopsy. Emily's evidence prompted the family to exhume Father Hayes, confirming digoxin in his system. Meanwhile, James found another job and bragged to Emily over phone. She suggested dinner, wearing a police wire. She confronted him gently. "I know it was you, but I still care. Let me help." His face paled. "I'll fight to the end," he muttered. The tense meeting ended, and police arrested him for murder. In custody, he repeated, I can't, refusing to talk, until Emily joined the interrogation. Guilt-ridden, she asked, "What did you do to Father Hayes?" He confessed, "I gave him digoxin." Asked why he opened up, he said, "Because of her." He admitted injecting Father Hayes to free him from machines, framing himself as a merciful angel. As the investigation deepened, his defense crumbled. To avoid the death penalty, James confessed to killing about 40 patients over 16 years, the youngest just 1 year old. Many were recovering when he struck. He'd also used cranium, a paralytic that, in excess, stopped breathing while leaving victims conscious, trapped in their bodies as they suffocated. This contradicted his mercy claims. In August 2005, his ex-girlfriend wrote that her brother needed a kidney transplant. James was tested as a match, but as a convict, his donation required court approval. He threatened to skip trial if denied, and the court relented, contingent on his appearance. On March 2, 2006, in a New Jersey courtroom, he faced furious victims' families in silence. Convicted of 22 murders and 3 attempted murders, he received 11 life sentences. 8 days later, 7 more life terms and 3 attempted murder charges were added. He'd be eligible for parole in 2403 after 397 years. That August, he donated his kidney from prison, still poring over case files to recall other victims. Experts estimate his toll could hit 400, making him America's deadliest serial killer. Psychologists say James saw himself as a failure, projecting his self-loathing onto patients and ending them as a proxy for himself. His confessions and donation suggest a craving for recognition. His case stunned the nation, not just for brutality, but for his troubled past, repeated suicide attempts, psychiatric care, and a military discharge for instability. Yet hospitals hired him, ignoring warning signs. Faulty drug systems, mysterious deaths, punctured 4 bags. Some wrote glowing references to offloading him, fearing scandal. Summit Medical Center even covered for him. If a hospital admits employing a serial killer, who'd trust it again? With little incentive or legal duty to investigate, they minimize the crisis. No hospital or individual faced charges beyond James. Many settled secretly with victims' families to avoid lawsuits. In 2005, New Jersey passed a law mandating healthcare workers to report threats to patients, but similar tragedies persist. James Carter's reign of terror exposed a broken system, one that failed his victims as much as he did. His story ends here, a chilling reminder of unchecked darkness in the places meant to heal.